For my final research topic, I decided to research the faith of Ronald Reagan. My thesis was the religious faith of Ronald Reagan during his political career, both as governor of California and as the President of the United States, had ramifications to how he was perceived and influenced decisions that he made while he was in office. Reagan's father was Roman Irish Catholic, but not very religious. His mother, on the other hand, would attend services at the Disciples of Christ Church in their town very regularly. Ronald joined her church at a young age of 12. He was heavily influenced by the church and by the teachings of both parents. Even though his father was an alcoholic, this was overlooked because he did teach Ronald and his brother that all people should be treated as individuals. Absolutely no racial slurs were tolerated. The same went for religious and racial intolerance. To this day, Reagan is evaluated for his actions in secular settings without very much regard to his faith, and it had an impact on some of his decisions while as governor and as president. While we do have a separation of church and state, the country has been founded or was founded on Christian values, and some leaders of our secular government have been influenced by their religious beliefs. One issue that stands out among all the other policies that Ronald Reagan made was the issue of abortion. After only 6 months as California governor, on June 14, 1967, Ronald Reagan signed the Therapeutic Abortion Act. From a total of 518 legal abortions in California in 1967, the number of abortions would soar to an annual average of 100,000 in the remaining years of Reagan's 2 terms, more abortions than in any other state prior to the Supreme Court decision of Roe v. Wade. Reagan's signing of the abortion bill was an ironic beginning for a man often seen later as the modern father of the pro-life movement. While this may seem staggering to some, it should be also noted that there are not any numbers calculated of the illegal abortions performed prior to the signing of the 1967 law. Nonetheless, Reagan did sign that bill, and his staff calculated that if he vetoed this bill, it would be overridden by the state legislature that had a Democratic majority. Therefore, he decided to do what he could to make the bill less harmful, arguing for the insertion of certain language that eliminated its worst features and allowed for abortion only in rare cases, such as rape or incest, or where the pregnancy would gravely impair the physical or mental health of the mother. Reagan's stance on social issues was more in line with Jerry Falwell and his newly established moral majority. With the backing of the group, Reagan defeated Jimmy Carter in a landslide victory in 1980 bid for the White House. Reagan was able to blend his beliefs of the apocalypse or Armageddon to fit the Cold War context. This would later be benefit for him in building the defense budget in order to defeat the great evil empire of the Soviet Union. While he never stated that the end was coming, he repeatedly stated that he wanted the country to be ready just in case the end times were upon our nation. His talk also helped to establish the Star Wars program and nuclear disarmament treaties with the USSR. In 1984, Reagan wanted to correct some wrongs, some perceived wrongs. One was his signing of the abortion bill while he was governor, and the decision by the Supreme Court in 1973. Reagan signed an executive order in 1984 to reinstate the Mexico City policy, which limited non-governmental organizations' funding and abortion. Quote, neither performing nor actively promoting abortion as a method of family planning in other nations, end quote. Conditions of receiving federal funding for any NGO. While he was president, he authored a small book, titled Abortion and the Conscience of a Nation. It featured contributions from Bill Clark and Mother Teresa. That was published by the Human Life Foundation in 1984. Some White House moderates wanted Reagan to delay publication until after the '84 election, fearing it would turn off pro-choice Republicans. But Reagan refused. He wanted to show that he was on the side against abortion laws as they were written in 1984. Another focus of the Reagan administration from the beginning was support for prayer in the public schools. Much the social agenda of the conservative fundamentalist supporters of the president was adopted by the executive branch, but Reagan had little success in gaining its acceptance by Congress. I enjoyed doing the research on Ronald Reagan, and some things that I learned while doing this research was that he maintained his faith. He was not afraid to show it, and what he did show the American people was not an act. He was an actual believer. His message resonated with the majority of the people, not just in 1980 when he won in a landslide, but also later on. Throughout the years, people still refer back to Ronald Reagan and his views. Even though most of his social programs were not very successful in getting out of the legislature and getting passed into law, he did attempt to get them into law, but they were not implemented or passed. I would like to end this video the same way that Ronald Reagan and some other presidents have. Thank you. Good night. God bless. And God bless America.